And this week, speaking of Punch Imlach, we're going to leave you with a bit of vintage Punch Imlach. Punch held court with a bunch of sports writers recently, and he gave them what they were looking for, which was some quotable quotes during the summer hockey news wasteland. Punch was at the NHLPA golf tournament, and this came out, and it went sort of like this. Punch started his soliloquy off with saying, "The thought has crossed my mind that Bobby Orr might just have peaked as a hockey player. If Boston made Phil Esposito available, I'd give him Phil Goyette and change for him. But seriously, he has to be hockey's biggest bargain right now at $350,000 in his contract. And if Buffalo couldn't come up with the money," Punch says, "I'd buy him myself, and then I'd lease him to the Sabres." Staying on the topic of the Boston Bruins, Punch said that Johnny Bucyk is a great hockey player even at his age, and Punch revealed that he tried once to get him when he was the general manager of the Maple Leafs. He offered the Bruins George Armstrong in exchange for Johnny Bucyk. Punch also says that Clarence Campbell has been great for the National Hockey League and has taken a lot of grief from some owners, and any time he can give it back, I'll stand up and I'll applaud him. I had 2 lawyers tell me I couldn't get away with what I did at the draft meetings, leaving Reggie Fleming unprotected 5 times and drafting him back 4 times. I proved them wrong, I did it, and I got the Sabres 4 players for next season to staff the farm team that they never would have had otherwise. Punch talks about his prize first-year man of last season, Gilbert Perreault, of whom he says he has not yet reached his peak, and he may turn out to be a greater star than Bobby Orr. Punch talked about the trading of draft picks and that kind of thing, and he said that Clarence Campbell is completely right about prohibiting the trading of draft choices. Punch said he knows a way to make that backfire on teams like Montreal, and we'll talk about a little bit more about that a little later on in this. First on Bobby Orr having peaked, Punch said that Bobby was trying to do things in the playoffs that no one had ever seen him do before, and he wasn't succeeding. Punch says, "I haven't tried to analyze it too closely, but the thought has crossed my mind that quite possibly he maybe has reached his peak and he can't get any better than what he is. But just remember, he's the best there is." Punch went on to talk about, using as an example, Wayne Carlton, the former Maple Leaf, just drafted from the Bruins by the California Golden Seals. He said that he remembered Wayne as an 18-year-old junior, and he was just the best player you'd ever seen. But he never progressed beyond that. He reached his peak at 18. Now, Punch says, take my boy Gilbert Perreault. He's still just a boy, but he's going to peak for probably in about 3 years. He's going to be so good at that time, you just won't believe it. On Phil Esposito, Punch says he's worth $10 million. I'm being funny, of course. $10 million is not what a hockey player will ever be worth. But money is nothing in today's hockey. That's the point. The bodies are what you need, and you don't find a player as good as Phil Esposito just any day of the week. A year ago, we had 2 players, and today the Sabres now have 70. At the draft meetings, we bought 5 players for $200,000. And I'd sure as hell give another $150,000 for a guy like Phil Esposito. Listen, those 5 players combined won't score 76 goals for the Sabres next season. He talked about Bucyk and how good he's become, and told how he tried to steal him from the Bruins a few years ago by offering George Armstrong. Actually, the deal wasn't Army for Bucyk straight up. It would have been George Armstrong and another guy. And Punch says we almost made the deal. About that maneuvering that he did at the draft with Reggie Fleming bouncing back and forth on and off the Buffalo list, Punch said that he had this idea before the draft meeting started, and they grabbed a couple of the Sabres lawyers, and they went through the rule book with a fine-tooth comb, and Punch told them, I don't see where the rule book says you can't do this. And he said, they said, you can't. The lawyer said, I can't do this. Punch said, I'm not interested. in what I can't do. I'm only interested in what I can do. And the rule book says I can do this, so I'm going to do it. And despite the lawyer's protestations, Punch pulled it off. But just to be sure, this is something we didn't know about this maneuvering. Punch went to Clarence Campbell just before the draft started and asked him. And Campbell said that drafting a player off your own list does not constitute using your choice. Punch said, I turned to my lawyers and said, you guys just lost. So I could put Reggie on the list, draft him back, and still have a choice on that round. And he used those choices. So, Punch, just how are you going to stop the trading of these draft choices? And Punch says, it's really easy to stop all this draft choice trading if we get smart. Let's take Montreal, for example. They've got all those draft choices for 3 years, something like about 12 of them. So we say we're not going to trade with Montreal for 3 years. Now, what are they going to do? If they protect the young players, they'll have to lose some of the regulars. And if they protect the regulars, they're going to lose the young ones too. They just won't be able to protect everyone, and we'll steal some of those players for a song. Now, the writer that Punch was talking to and all this diatribe that he put out, this really interesting statement. This was Francis Rose of the Boston Globe, by the way, and we had to close off the interview with Punch with, of course, a little bit of Boston Bruins content. And Punch said he had a final shot for the Bruins about their changing their style of play. Punch says that will never happen because there's no one in the organization who can make these guys change the way they play. The Bruins might have been the best offensive team of all time, and they will not change. That's Punch Imlach talking on the state of hockey in 1971 in the summer.